All right, we'll get to the Longhorns in a minute. A couple of headlines, Jack. Alabama still owns Kirby Smart. Drew, we asked the question all offseason, is if Penn State is going to win the national title, does Drew Aller or James Franklin have another gear? Answer resoundingly on Saturday night, no, they do not. And guess what? Oregon has found another quarterback.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that coming up. Also, the other observations from the SEC, the day in the SEC, big win for A&M. Auburn has the worst offense in all of the conference.
Oh, it's terrible.
And the best offense in the conference belongs to Vanderbilt. And who would have ever thought you would say this? At any point in your life, Jack, the biggest game of the college football week this week is in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where Alabama will host undefeated Vanderbilt.
There you go.
Biggest game of the weekend.
Absolutely.
We'll get to that coming up. But let's hear some Longhorns. So the Longhorns have entered this game with Florida coming off their bye week as a 7.5-point favorite.
7.5.
At Gainesville, according to the odds makers. 2:30 on ABC Saturday. You just heard the promo. We'll be out at Doc's backyard when the Longhorns are on the road, which they are going to be all month of October.
Jeez.
We'll be out at Doc's backyard. But Texas is riding a 3-game win streak after they dropped the opener to Ohio State. Buckeyes beat Washington this weekend. Impressively, they're just kind of methodical right now. We're overwhelming, and Washington's pretty good, but Ohio State's give up 6 points in that game. But the Gators are the exact opposite of the Longhorns. They won their opener, beat Long Island, which is where Bethpage Black is, by the way. They beat Long Island, but then they've dropped 3 in a row to South Florida, LSU, and Miami. Both teams enjoyed the bye week. Let's hear Sark from last week, pointing out that, yeah, they're 1-3, but, man, their schedule has been brutal. Here's Sark with some thoughts on the Gators.
Our some of the teams in our conference have some really brutal schedules, and I look at Florida and just kind of the gauntlet they've already been part of, and they're at LSU one week and the next week they're at Miami, and they're playing really well defense. I mean, these guys are playing at a high level. I think they held LSU to 13 points on offense. The one touchdown they scored was a pick six, on the road to hold those guys to 13. And they're holding Miami to 13 points until about 4 minutes to go, or 16 points. But no, I think it was 13 with about 6 minutes to go in that game. And so they're playing at a really high level defensively. Naturally Billy's a really good offensive coach, and they just haven't found their groove quite yet offensively. But going to the Swamp, there's people that would argue it's the toughest place to play in the country. We've got 2 coaches in our office that have coached there before and have said it's the loudest place they've been. And so,
all right, so there they go, 2:30. And as we've said, key to this game for me is the start. Can Texas get off to a good start and take that crowd out of it? Because that's what we know about Florida. They're 1-3, and yes, they've had a tough schedule, and yes, they play good defense. Their front is good. Their defense has great athletes, and it'll be a challenge for the Longhorns. But if you get an early lead, Jack, that crowd will quit. That crowd will start booing. They don't want. They know the end is coming with Billy Napier.
Yeah, they're unhappy.
Arkansas has fired Sam Pittman after they got smoked by Notre Dame on Saturday.
Bobby Petrino.
So Bobby Petrino is once again the coach at Arkansas, taking you back in time. But it's coach firing season in college football. We've already seen UCLA, Virginia Tech, now Arkansas. Oklahoma State has pulled the plug on Mike Gundy. It's that time of year, and so that crowd is ready to give up on Billy Napier if they haven't already. So an early start would be huge for Texas to come out like they did against Sam Houston, but this is a much more talented team than Sam Houston. We know that. Of course, the Texans went down and scored touchdowns on their first 2 drives. You do something similar to that, knowing how feeble the Florida offense has been, you can take that crowd out of it, and it won't be the loudest place. But, obviously they're looking for the alternative. They've also had the bye week to get healthy. So we'll hear Sark throughout the morning. We'll also hear from Sark this morning at 11:30, previewing the game and how the bye week went for them. But watching college football over the weekend, Jack, here's the clear observations. Best win obviously the biggest win of the Kalen DeBoer young era at Alabama. To go on the road, to go into Athens between the hedges and win a game 24-21, hard-fought W. And it's pretty clear. Kirby Smart dominates everybody, but he doesn't beat Alabama. He's now 1-7. Against his former employer. Beats everybody else. It's kind of like Ryan Day against everybody, not Michigan at this point, at Ohio State. But this is what Texas will play at Georgia later this year. That secondary and that defense is not what it's been. Kirby Smart's, we saw that defense get lit up even in a win at Tennessee. That secondary got lit up. And in this game, Ty Simpson, the young quarterback, came in and played really well. He lit them up early, and then they held on for the 24-21 victory. Nice win for Kalen DeBoer and company, and that sets up, as we said, this massive game this weekend with Vanderbilt, who, gosh, Diego Pavia, Jack, 5 touchdowns. I know they played Utah State. They dropped out of conference this weekend, but that offense at Vanderbilt is averaging 50 points a game. Diego Pavia is the best quarterback in the conference right now through a month and 5 games for them. That guy accounted for 6 touchdowns. I mean, he was tremendous. He knows that offense like he's calling the plays. It's the same offense he ran at New Mexico where he came from, and so he is completely ingrained in it. Clark Lee has built a culture there, and they're going to Bama this weekend, and it's the biggest game so far this year in the SEC. Now that we're playing some games, that is a huge, huge game. To say the least. We'll get to the Oregon-Penn State game coming up, but let me just mention in the SEC, A&M's good. And it feels like to me, and I want to hear from the Aggie fans on this, I'm not criticizing Marcel Reed as much as I'm saying if they had an elite quarterback, they'd be elite.
I completely agree.
He's good. He was okay. He was winnable. But 16 points, let me just say this about Auburn. That's the worst offense in the conference.
Yeah.
Hugh Freeze, I know they lost a heartbreaker and the agonizing bad officiating loss at Oklahoma, but this is the program at Auburn that produced Bo Jackson and great running backs. Cadillac Williams of your age, they went a full quarter and then in most of the first half without handing the ball to a running back. Like, what are they doing offensively? Hugh Freeze make a lot of money. They're paying a lot of money to their NIL guys to be that bad on offense. They are awful. They're unwatchable offensively. And even the Aggies would tell you their defense ain't great. Their defense is, but it had a bye week to get better. But that offense at Auburn is unacceptable if you're an Auburn Tiger fan.
Utah State scored 20 against you. You couldn't score. They scored 10.
And they don't even try to run the ball. I don't know what they're. Jackson Arnold's,
with that portal class too, and those receivers.
Oh, the receivers they have. I understand Hugh Freeze wants to throw it to Cam Coleman and those guys, but same time, you can still run the football. It's still legal to turn around and hand it to a running back, is it not?
Dismal.
Oh, real bad. But Aggies are undefeated. Don't apologize. Take the win. Move on. They've got a big game this weekend with Mississippi State, who actually lost to Tennessee, but they gave Tennessee a fight.
They were up in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, they were. Jeff Levy's team's improved. That's a Longhorn road trip to Starkville later this month to keep an eye on. Mississippi State's improved in year 2, so I got to give them credit. And what do you say about Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin? Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin beating LSU. They won it by, it was a close game, but it should have been wider. They could have separated that game because remember when a couple weeks ago when Brian Kelly's yelling at reporters for asking him what's wrong with your offense, even though they won the game and beat Florida? Well, it's still fair to ask Brian Kelly, and you can yell out all you want. His offense is bad. They still don't run the ball. And this was a problem last year for Brian Kelly's team. They don't run the ball. They ran for 3.1 yards per carry against Ole Miss on Saturday. Garrett Nussmeier is being forced to play hero ball, and guess what? He's just not playing as good this year as he did last year. There's some that think he might be not 100% and battling some things, but in the end, last year he had to carry that offense and with no running game, and he did. It's what made him a top draft prospect. This year he's not playing as well, and they still don't run the ball. Their defense has been fixed. Give Brian Kelly that credit, but their offense is bad. They're not as bad as Auburn, but they're bad. They're bad on offense. You can take that away now because I've watched them play enough. LSU against Clemson, LSU against Florida, LSU against Ole Miss, and Lane Kiffin seems undefeated. And their schedule is manageable. They found a quarterback in this kid, Trinidad Chambliss, a transfer from Ferris State. I don't know where you get this guy, but he comes in and he's, Austin Simmons is supposed to be your quarterback. This is the guy. And then, of course, Lane Kiffin, for the fun stuff, he decides to troll Brian Kelly and LSU after the game because this is what is that what you guys call it? Trolling?
Sure, yeah. Can
we call it that? But yeah, he had some things on social media about his daughter's apparently dating the linebacker of LSU, Whit Weeks, and I give Ole Miss some credit. They got a nice win. And let me give you the final line. When I say that Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia is the best quarterback in the SEC, folks, they're 5-0. Against Utah State Saturday in Nashville, he threw for 321 yards, rushed for another 80. He's the second quarterback at Vanderbilt in 30 years to play a role in 6 or more touchdowns in one game. And they're undefeated in 5-0, and they're going to play at Alabama on Saturday. That is also a 2:30 game.
Yeah.
While Texas is playing Florida, and I'll just say this for A&M: Le'Veon Moss is a bull. That's a workhorse running back. Their offensive line is good. Their weapons are good. That's where if Marcel Reed continues to elevate, they can play with anybody. They really. And let me just say this, and we'll get it to a timeout. Horns at half past. Here's what's clear to me about college football through the first month. There is no great team. There is no great team. Like the last, Georgia 4 years ago was great. I think Michigan 2 years ago was great. I think Ohio State last year with everybody they retained and brought back and then got in the portal and brought in Caleb Downs and, Will Howard and Quinshon Judkins, they were great.
They became great at the end, yeah.
I don't think there's a great team.
Oh, there's not.
I don't think there's a great team. Nobody's unbeatable. I could make a case for 10 different teams.
This is going to be one of the worst Heisman winners we've ever had, too.
Somebody's going to win it.
Who's going to win this thing?
But there's not a great team. There's not, and this is where the transfer portal, where everybody was predicting it was going to ruin things and the rich will get richer. And no, it's actually evened out the talent. Because why was Georgia so great 4 years ago? Because they were so deep. Their third guy was better than your first guy in a lot of cases. Well, those guys aren't hanging around anymore.
Yeah, portal evens
They're
that part
leaving.
of it out.
They're going. And where are they going? They're spreading out around the conference, around the country. And, the portal takes, but it also gives. Mm-hmm. And why is Vanderbilt good, the portal?
Yep. The two best players are from the portal
right.
on offense.
And you can get good quick if you make the right ads. And it also diminishes the depth of the great teams because they can't stockpile it like they used to. And, I think it's going to make for a hell of a run here. I mean, it's, Oregon has found their quarterback in Dante Moore. They beat Penn State. Penn State's not great. We know that. But who's great? I don't think there's a great team in college football this year. I really don't. Parity kind of reigns. And who's the best team in the SEC that you've seen the first month? There's no unbeatable team. I know
Ole
that.
Miss?
Well, are they unbeatable? I don't think so.
Of course not.
I don't know. That's the thing. I mean, it's maybe it's Vanderbilt. Because I've said this a lot about Vanderbilt. There's not a team that knows their identity more than Vanderbilt. Mm-hmm. There's not a team that knows exactly what they do and who they are and what they're going to get from their quarterback on a week-by-week basis. I don't think Texas knows that. I sure think that A&M doesn't know that. But the combination of experience and identity belongs to Vanderbilt right now. But overall talent, do they stack up with Bama? We'll find out on Saturday. They'll play Texas later in the year. Here in Austin, the next home game is November 1st with Vanderbilt. But between that, you've got Florida, Oklahoma, Mississippi State, and Kentucky. So take care of your business if you're the Longhorns. You're going to hear Sark say a lot today. Go 1-0 every week. Go 1-0 every week and move on to the next because A&M has done that. Haven't been, they survived at Notre Dame, which looks like a huge win right now. They held off Auburn 16-10, but don't apologize. Get the dubs and get out is what you're trying to do right now.